Are the Bruins going to get weird at quarterback against Stanford? Spooky season.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this your first listen each and every day. It's free where we get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. So like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, thanks for being an everydayer. Thanks for being an everydayer and a supporter. If you've heard us talking about UCLA football consistently throughout October, it's been a lot about the quarterback play and the defense's legitimacy, which we'll talk about later on in this show, and keys to the game and remembering the Stanford series. This episode is brought to you by none other than FanDuel, because, hey, FanDuel Sportsbook is America's number one sportsbook. So go check them out. FanDuel, check it out. FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. $5 in a bet can get you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All right, cruising on into this episode of Locked On UCLA. Keys to the game for UCLA to keep things rolling as usual, as expected when it comes to playing Stanford this week. They're in a rebuild under first-year head coach Troy Taylor from Sac State. I've seen what he's done at Sac State. He built them into an offensive machine, a team and a program that really had nothing going when he was at Sacramento State, and all of a sudden they were able to become almost perennial powerhouse in the Big Sky Conference in the FCS and be a very good team across the country at that level. Now he's taken over Stanford, still in Northern California, and looking to find ways to rebuild the Stanford Cardinals football program as they head to the ACC. Yada, yada, yada. He's an offensive-minded head coach for a team that's got a very porous defense, an offense that was interesting after they came back down 29-0 to beat Colorado heading into this UCLA game, which ironically was a battle of UCLA's next two opponents, who both play UCLA as their next two games. Where does UCLA need to go to win this game, and winning convincingly by 3 scores like they're supposedly supposed to do, with questions at quarterback against a very, very bad defense, especially against the pass? Take a look at my keys to the game as per usual. Here we are. Build QB confidence. What does that mean? What is build QB confidence? What generic blah, blah nonsense am I trying to spew to you guys now? What it basically means is, hey, one, is Chip Kelly going to get weird? I was reading Ben Bolch, reading all sorts of different reports. There's absolutely a possibility that Chip Kelly decides to play Ethan Garbers in this game, whether it's a dual QB system. Chip Kelly has said, hey, he is absolutely available to play this game. There's been rumors about Garbers wanting to stay off the field and get a red shirt of sorts, having played in his 4 games this year. All sorts of different goofy things that could happen with Ethan Garbers. The question is he going to start and play for UCLA? And if he doesn't, what does that mean moving forward for Garbers, for Dante Moore, and with the most likely injured Colin Schlee? There's not been anything official put out other than a possible sternum, which has been reported by Ben Bolch and the Bruin Report Online. Nothing confirmed about his availability for this game and moving forward, which means UCLA can get very weird. They can go Dante Moore against a very bad team and just go Dante Moore throwing the football and running the football and hope to win the game like they should and get his confidence built back up in order to play against Colorado, who's been known to take away the football, but is also a bad defense as well, which could spur him and push him towards a good end of his true freshman campaign where we see a lot of growing spots. Or you go Ethan Garbers. You give Dante Moore, I don't know if it's a breather, you change things and try to get the passing game working, finding what's not working. Is it the O-line specifically every single time? Is it the freshman who just can't see the game at this moment and needs to watch it from the sidelines? And did we give Garbers a bad break? As I've been repeatedly saying, I still want Moore to start and play. Have we given Garbers too short of a leash after maybe a half of football against Coastal Carolina? Those are all things to look out for. Whoever plays quarterback, and if they add the wrinkle of the Colin Schlee package, where it could be anybody not named Colin Schlee. Like there's been rumors of Colson Yankoff, Justin Martin's athletic ability to use the same package as a freshman or, a very early year quarterback with him being another year in the UCLA system. There's a lot of different ways UCLA can utilize that running option with the former quarterback or current quarterback, whatever they decide to do, run and keep Dante Moore in there and do a mixture of both as they did in the Oregon State game. Build the confidence of Dante Moore, or if it's Garbers or whoever's running this QB package, if they're going to go with the Schlee package, even if it's not for Schlee due to his health, just build confidence and make sure they get easy reads, easy touches, and get in the flow of the game quickly, which can lead to UCLA's success against a bad Stanford defense. If they struggle against this Stanford defense, if the Bruins are throwing picks, if Dante Moore comes out and throw picks, then I will absolutely be on the bench him bandwagon. If he comes out and plays bad, if it's a tipped interception or something that's not his fault, or the offensive line struggles against the Cardinal, all right, I just want to see him play against a bad defense and build that confidence. Chip Kelly could still do other things, and I won't necessarily put it past him. I'm just not sure that's what he's going to do. After making the bold move of starting Dante Moore, after naming Garbers the opening night first snapper starter, and then giving Dante Moore the reins ever since, I'm not sure that's where he's going to go. He could, and there's different options to do so. Just build the confidence of whoever's playing, easy pitch and catch. No interception on the first drive of the game, and no pick six on the first drive of the game or any others in this game. Please, let's end this terrible streak. Key number 2, don't forget about the run game. Which is funny that I say that, because as much as you want to build a confidence, and it's extremely important for UCLA to have someone capable playing quarterback. I believe Moore is the most talented and has the highest ceiling, which is why I want him to be in there. Still, if you just want someone to manage the game, you can't forget about UCLA's running game, because that was what was forgotten against Oregon State. When it was clear the Bruins were going to have success to run the football against the Beavers in the previous week, and by the time that happened and they realized it, the Bruins are a little too far down, playing down 2 scores, especially after the Dante Moore pick 6 to end the first half. And then you forget about the running game, which can take a load off your QB's shoulders. A lot of it helped by Colin Schlee, still some big runs by Carson Steele, back-to-back 100-yard games. TJ Harden had a touchdown, and Keegan Jones has made ridiculous plays in limited touches in the last 2 weeks against Washington State and Oregon State. I'd like to see Jones get more touches. Steele has pulled away with the bulk of his carries, and Harden, who has seen his usage rate go down and down over week by week a little bit, is still a very good running back. We forget the Bruins have a lot of capable guys who bring a lot to the table, whether it be running the football, potentially pass catchers, and just the ability to move with the football. So do not forget about the running game. Even if you want to force the confidence like Chip Kelly seemingly has early in games for Dante Moore, remember, they can run the football. And if Stanford still is a bad defense, you should still be able to run the football. Run the football. Do not forget to do so. These are very simple-minded keys to the game, because it's like, hey, in the end, you've got to develop and also win the game. You don't want to blow this at Stanford. This is your last ever conference matchup against them before everybody splits off, and we'll talk about the memoriam, what words? Goodness gracious, what day is it? Who knows? Remembering the rivalry that is UCLA and Stanford, and just remembering the good moments. We'll get to that in this podcast. But you want to win the game and smack Stanford in the mouth and say you don't deserve to be on this field for the Bruins, and get that 5th win and build this towards a winning streak, hopefully for the end of the year. Remember to run the football. Remember to do so. Dante Moore, Garbers, whoever can throw for 500 yards, but run the football too. Please, please, please. And number 3, key to the game, do not let up. Do not let up. What does that mean? What nonsense garbage am I talking about? Do not let up. Well, whether it's your defense who, hey, you are probably a little angry. Oregon State didn't exactly expose them, but it was the worst game the defense has played all year. And even then, the loss wasn't on the defense. There's just moments where they need to clean up and not give up big plays in the passing game, where they messed up a few times that led to 3 touchdowns and a 4th time to a big, long completion to the Oregon State tight end. For Stanford, the big name, Alec Aomanor, who just came off nearly 300 yards receiving, a career day touchdown-wise, making some of the craziest catches one could see, a 97-yard catch and score, a catch in overtime that went berserk over Travis Hunter that sent Folsom Field just, wait, what happened? Probably would have broken many remotes if watching the game. Don't let up. I want this to be a shutout. I want the defense to say, no, you're not going to score. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. But as we saw, Stanford was down 29-0 on the road against the Fighting Deion Sanders Colorado Buffs and came back to win. We could talk all the time about mercenaries, who's got heart for football, who decided not to show up, who's ready, whatever. That's not the discussion. For the Bruins this week, you saw what happened last week. Colorado, despite their shortcomings, is still a capable football team, and Stanford went on the road and came back to beat them, even if they let their foot off the gas pedal. UCLA, do not do so. Defensively, be prepared to punch them in the mouth. Literally, smack them, whatever it is. Not literally, yada, yada, yada. Go in and keep it going. Don't let them breathe literally when it comes to being able to have time to throw the football, run the football, anything. You can point out different plays. The defense should have a good day. There should be a couple interceptions. There should be multiple takeaways. And the defense should have not necessarily a field day, but a very good day and have a fun time doing so. That's what I want to see, a bounce-back performance for a defense that wants to claim itself to be the best in the conference. And to be the best in the conference, you've got to dominate the lower-tier teams in the conference, like a Stanford who's 2-4, lost to Sacramento State and FCS, right? Barely lost to a scrappy Arizona team, but they've got some big wins on their resume, like the win at Colorado. Can the Bruins do so? That is my three keys. Once again, let's not do that. Build QB confidence. Do not forget about the run game, and don't let up. Those are the three things. Simple things that can lead to UCLA victory. Next, we talk some memories and how the UCLA-Stanford series is going to end. UCLA ahead in the all-time series, but the last laugh will go to whoever wins this one before the teams play or do not play in the future. Big Ten bound and ACC bound schools. Remember that next on Locked On UCLA. This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. Have you ever felt like your brain is getting in its own way? Like you know what you should do, what's good for you, but you just can't do it? I've certainly felt this way, which is why I eventually started going to therapy, where I just struggled. My mind was just doing and thinking different things. I just couldn't get out of my own way. Couldn't get out of bed. Struggled mentally for so long, only to finally go to therapy and finally get the inner peace and mental stability that I've really wanted. And all of a sudden, wow, it's different. Which is why if you're starting and trying to think of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today to get 10% off for your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnCollege. Right now, it's time to snap into the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Because if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, right? The app's super easy to use, wide range of betting options available, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Cruising on, second segment of the Locked On UCLA podcast. Hey, let's get back and let's just remember the good times of Pac-10, Pac-12 football, UCLA playing Stanford every year. Maybe not the recent decade plus where the Bruins struggled to beat that ugly tree from up north in Palo Alto for quite some time, but still, it's made and grown this series so much to where it's pretty tight. The Cardinal and Bruins are within 4 games of each other of the all-time series, with the Bruins finally, and I mean finally, having some success after, for me, especially being a much younger UCLA fan, I definitely grew up hating strong word, but definitely going to apply it here, hating the Stanford Cardinal, because remember, UCLA didn't win between the years of 2009 to 2018. They just struggled, and yet the Bruins have now won 3 of the last 4. And with a win against the Cardinal in their last ever conference matchup, at least for now, the Bruins could win 4 or 5 and win 3 in a row to wrap up the series, including a dominating win in 21, beating down the Cardinal in 22, 38-13, and looking to put in one more dominant stretch against Stanford to wrap things up in 2023 against Troy Taylor and Stanford, which the Bruins are certainly capable of doing. But we can remember the good days. And Ben Bolch has always done a series of the good moments for between each team, 1 through 5, top 5 moments. You can go for the 21-point fourth quarter comeback for the Cardiac Bruins. You can go back and forth to recent games, even the double overtime game the Bruins lost in 2020. That was still an entertaining game. 49-42 when the Bruins and Cardinal played in 2018. So many different exciting moments. Even back in 2008 when you had Kevin Kraft playing quarterback, and the Bruins had a last-second, last-ditch effort for a win. And, of course, many previous battles when UCLA played the Stanford quarterback, dating back to the John Elway-led Stanford Cardinal, when Tom Ramsey helped lead the Bruins to victory, 38-35, and eventually a Rose Bowl. Some of those are the likes of Ben Bolch article, talk about the top 5 matchups. Some of those are mine. If you're wondering why it says in the rundown, the rip my TV remote, it was a dark day, a dark Thursday night. I came home from a basketball game in an adult league, and I sat there. The Bruins deadlocked in a high-scoring battle against the Stanford Cardinal. Cue look at camera. Sat there, frustrating. Can the Bruins defense get a stop? Then the Stanford Cardinal with Christian McCaffrey running over the Bruin defense, as much as I hate to say it, decided to do some stupid flea flicker play, chuck it down the field, only for Francis Owusu to make the most crazy catch of all time, in my mind. Maybe even more than Odell Beckham Jr., especially in college football. Not deniable. I took one look at that touchdown catch. The game was then turned off. The remote firm in my grasp, thrown down, and exploded into 5,000 pieces. Only moments later did I realize, 1, the Bruins weren't going to win that game, even before the crazy catch. 2, I would have one angry mother who would come after me for breaking the TV remote over a Thursday night shellacking of the Bruins from the Stanford Cardinal. I hid the pieces. I would be asked in the future who did this. And I denied all credibility. And for the most part, I actually got away with it. Hid it. Nobody knew. It was the hidden remote, the hidden story of the TV remote. For now. Sorry, Mother, that I broke the TV remote, that the Bruins lost that game. Since the Bruins have a lot more success of beating the Stanford Cardinal, and the TV remotes are safe, and I've gotten much better at that. Even though I shout out to my dear UCLA friend we've talked about before, and he's had his also graveyard of broken TV remotes. I don't condone those actions, but the Stanford Cardinal had a day and age when it was that emotional to play them in the Pac-12 championship game or just on a random Thursday night, which is why it's so painful to see this series end, even though it's been dominated in the most recent of meetings by the UCLA Bruins. I do think these two teams should absolutely play each other in the non-conference. That would help limit the travel the Bruins have to do when you're going across the country to play Big Ten matchups. If your non-conference is slated like going to play Stanford in the non-conference, going to play Cal. As much as we miss the Cal rivalry because of the UC battle, let's not forget Stanford and UCLA are just as big of iconic teams. When they made the Pac-12, when it came to the rotating schedule, it was mandatory that UCLA and SC play both NorCal schools. That was part of the thing. It wasn't a true crazy rotation, get everybody in and out. That's why there's long stretches the Bruins and Washington State didn't play each other. That's why the Cougars didn't come to UCLA for a long time, or Oregon State, right? It's because UCLA and Stanford and Cal would play each other and SC every year. That was a big fundamental part. Those protected rivalries that the Big Ten has tried to institute. I think UCLA should make it a key thing. I know Stanford plays their Notre Dame, yada, yada. I know USC has their stuff with all these things. The Bruins should make Stanford and Cal, at least playing one of them every year, a priority in the future to help limit the travel in every sport until maybe we swing back and do some new conference formation that brings back the West Coast schools in different sports that aren't football. I think we should play this series, even if it's not the most eye-popping matchup. It's not going to be UCLA going to the big house or anything like that. It's UCLA Stanford. That might draw 50,000 fans at UCLA and 20,000 in Palo Alto this weekend. I'm not sure if the fans will actually come out just remembering this big-time matchup. I miss it, and I hope they would continue to play it, considering it gave me so many bad memories, but good ones too, in a series that, hey, UCLA leads all time, would love to dominate before these two teams break off and never play each other again in football until they schedule one another later on. I just will miss it. Rip my TV remote, rip the UCLA Stanford series, R.I.P. And I hope they continue to find ways to play it in the future. It's not up to Taylor and Chip Kelly. That's up to the administrations to find ways to make it happen and schedule it in the future, unless they eventually join the Big Ten or the super PAC big SEC 12-10 conference. That might happen in the future. I don't know. That would be the most simple name I could think of. Regardless, UCLA Stanford, it's time to predict what will happen in this game. What are my thoughts? I'll tell you next on Locked On UCLA. Have you ever tried Birddogs? Do you know how comfortable they are? If the answer to those questions are no, you're missing out, because these are the most comfortable shorts and pants with a khaki slim fit. They're Birddogs stretch khaki shorts. They're designed to fit slimmer through your thighs and legs to make you look super sculpted and be like, whoa, look at that guy in the mirror. I like that look. Oh, it's me? Yeah, get those shorts. Get the pants. You know what I was doing when I was wearing the Birddogs cap? I was going disc golfing. It was a toasty morning. I needed to protect myself from the sun. Boom. Slim and easy. They had a cap. They had everything. Birddogs got awesome gear. A funny box where everything comes in. You're going to have anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool. It's been really warm lately in the Southern California area and somewhere across the country too. Even though it is autumn, you're going to want to stay dry all day long. And they're functional for any occasion. Disc golfing, going out hanging with the boys, lounging around, workout, pool, dates, everything in between. Get yourself some Birddogs and go right now to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take off your Birddogs. We promise you. Cruising on in the final segment of Locked On UCLA, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer with you guys. The Bruins and the Stanford Cardinal. Let's chop down that tree and make sure it stays down with UCLA winning 3 in a row to end the series before the teams are no longer conference rivals. The Bruins have won 3 of 4, the last 2 in a row in a series that pre-Chip Kelly actually was dominated a lot by Stanford. And funny enough, who was always the thorn in the side of Oregon? It was Stanford when Chip Kelly was at Oregon. Isn't that funny that he comes to UCLA, the team that couldn't beat Stanford for a little bit there, and he's the one that helps the Bruins, although it coincided with the big decline from the David Shaw-led Stanford Cardinal, and the Bruins got a bit better from those 2017-18 days to now in 2023, and have found ways to beat the Stanford Cardinal for the most part in games they've probably largely been favored in. What do I think the Bruins are going to do to play the Stanford team where they're largely favored by close to 2 scores, maybe 3 scores, depending on what you're looking at for betting options and everything in between, which is why go check out some FanDuel. UCLA, this is the game where it starts a stretch of games the Bruins should win. At Stanford, you play Colorado, you play Arizona State, you get Cal, and then the 2 maybes are at Arizona and at USC. And those have their challenges and things that I think UCLA can win in both those games for different reasons, right? Arizona's one reason. I think the Bruins might be favored in that game, depending on how things play out, although things could be different. And then there's the SC game where they won't be favored to win in the Coliseum. Just got to start back with Stanford. This is where you can build whoever's playing quarterback's confidence. This is where in my mind, you get Dante Moore the chance to play and understand how to play the game at the D1 college football level, at the Power 5 level, soon to be the Power 4, or whatever we're going to call it, level. With a bad defense, UCLA should have a field day. They should be able to run the ball, throw the ball, stop the Stanford Cardinal offense, and not keep their foot on the gas pedal. Keep it going again and again. I think my final score prediction is 35-7 UCLA. I think the Bruins dominate this game. I don't think it'll necessarily be close. The Cardinal showed some signs with a big receiving performance, throwing the football all over the field in the second half. A coach that knows how to coach offense and game plan and probably can score more than 7 points, even though the UCLA defense has been usually pretty stout in most weeks. If the Bruins struggle defensively and have some communication issues in a very library-like atmosphere that Stanford football games tend to be, then I would be shocked and be very disappointed. I don't think that's how it's going to play out. Stanford can easily score more than 7. I don't think they score more than 14, 17 points in this game, barring what I would determine and deem as an absolute collapse by UCLA defense. That doesn't count. The 17, we're not counting any pick sixes because that's now been something you have to put on your UCLA football bingo card. Turnover, first drive, weird running play, pick six. Pick six. First half, pick six. Hopes and dreams dejected a little bit. That seems to be a UCLA football's bingo card at home when you're watching UCLA football games. I'd like to have more optimism for you guys. I'm very optimistic 90 billion% of the time. I just have to tone it down 5 quadrillion% to do the podcast. Otherwise, you guys would hate me more than you already do. This is a game UCLA should dominate in all facets of the game, from special teams, offense, defense. There's no way the Bruins shouldn't. The Bruins should win this game by multiple scores, 3 scores minimum. Now, is that actually going to happen? Can Stanford come in, play a quality football game, riding the momentum of what happened in Boulder? Sure. Are the Bruins struggling a little bit after they found something that worked, except Schlee's injury status, mostly up in the air with a probable sternum injury reported by the Bro Report and by the LA Times, not confirmed truly about the length and severity of the injury, despite him being listed on the depth chart, which hasn't meant things before. And with a quarterback who's shown his true freshman mistakes rearing their ugly head at the worst time, and now the Bruins have had to deal with that in 2 losses. This isn't the same prototypical type of team UCLA has lost to. On the road to a ranked team at Utah and a ranked team at Oregon State. Stanford does not fit the mold of either of those 2 teams. They don't play well in areas that UCLA struggles with, which is stopping the pass, overwhelming teams with pressure, and that's where UCLA struggles. Pass protection for a young quarterback who doesn't always get to look at multiple options, get multiple reads. He eyes his receivers down, or eyes down the first option way too many times. I just don't think Stanford is going to lead that into many, many turnovers forced against Dante Moore, if he is indeed the one that starts. I think the Bruins can probably see, if Dante Moore is the one playing, his first career 300-yard passing game. I'm going to be bold and say he will go for 300 yards. Will it come 50% completion percentage? I'm not sure. Will it take 40-plus throws? I hope not. I think this is the day where UCLA sees a 300-yard passing game by one quarterback for the first time all season. So I think the Bruins win again, 35-7. Defense rebounds, makes big plays, and leads to a UCLA victory, which in my mind can lead to a big winning streak towards the end of the season if they put it all together and maybe get one of those heralded 10-win seasons in UCLA football history. But it starts with coming together and winning the game against Stanford. Tell me your thoughts. Leave them in the comments. Like, dislike, anything in between. Give some love. Hit that download button. Subscribe. Thanks for your support. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer, who's going to react after the game between Stanford. I'll give you my thoughts pretty short. Hopefully it doesn't have to be anything other than a straightforward, that was a butt whooping, and we just enjoy it. If it's something else, you will see my emotions in my head explode in the craziest of ways. Hands up, 8 clap time, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins.